Choosy Beggar Maid of Honor / Bridesmaid. Background: my wife had a lot of friends growing up through school. They continued into adulthood with less frequency as normal. However, when we started dating, they ghosted her, apart from a few work friends and her best friend. To my surprise, her best friend was my cousin's ex-girlfriend. When I was 14, she'd moved up north at 16 and lived at my grand's house with my cousin and aunt. During this time, my grandmother used to complain that she was eating all the food, smoking all the cigarettes she bought my cousin, and called her a user. She was always a pleasant girl, and we were somewhat friendly. Fast forward to the post-engagement, my wife asked her to be the maid of honor, and my wife's sister and close friend to be bridesmaids. So we of course paid for all their outfits, shoes, dresses, accessories, and we were paying for their hair and makeup to be done. The lovely bridesmaid then offered to do the makeup as a wedding gift to us, knowing how expensive wedding makeup is, and she's a professional beauty therapist the same as my wife. Everything falls into place and is going excellent. We're getting married 2 hours away and offered to pay for the wedding party's rooms. However, my father-in-law said he'd pay for his and my wife's sisters. He also gave us money towards the wedding, as he was a traditional type. My brother said he'd pay for his and my father's. My mother's sadly not with us anymore, and my brother's girlfriend was home in Portugal for medical treatment not available in the UK at the time. So we paid for 2 nights for mother-in-law's room, maid of honor, my room for the night before the wedding, bridal suite was included in the wedding package, and the photographer's room. Lovely bridesmaid insisted on paying for her own room, saying she's honored to be part of our wedding. All is fine. The maid of honor is a single mom with a 12-year-old son. She doesn't work and is on a pretty damn low state benefits. Over the course of the years, she starts talking to a guy online in New York, and she manages to talk another friend into paying for her ticket to go visit this guy roughly 3 weeks before the proposed hen do, which for all you people who don't know what a hen do is, it's a bachelorette party. She was meant to be planning and had picked the activities but not booked anything, and she messages lovely bridesmaid to ask her to do it instead as she's too busy. She flies to New York to meet this dream man, comes home 2 weeks later, and messages my wife to say that she can't afford to go to the hen do as the activities cost £75 and she doesn't have money. Wife was upset, so I offered to pay for her share and my wife's share, as the maid of honor said she'd cover both of theirs, but spent all her money while visiting dreamy New Yorker. I felt compelled to do what I could to make my wife's hen do special, as I'd went with 8 friends to Prague for mine, with my best man covering my share. He wouldn't let me pay, and all my friends had covered their own share, and her friends couldn't afford to go away, so it was in our home city of Edinburgh. Hen do comes and goes. Choosing Beggar comes, but drinks only the free table drinks and eats the free meal. Wife-to-be has a great night, and lovely bridesmaid has organized lots of great things, and made gifts, put a lot of thought into the night to make it special. I made a joke about how lovely bridesmaid should be the maid of honor, a joke I fully meant seriously, and my wife said I was right, but she couldn't do that to Choosing Beggar and asked her to step down. Later that week, Choosing Beggar phones in tears as she has no money and no food for her child, and her benefits are 4 days away. I gave my wife-to-be my credit card and told her to take her food shopping to get some food for her and the kid, and that she didn't have to pay us back. No, this is a week after returning from New York. She spends a small amount, around £40 from memory. This was summer 2018, a month before the wedding. I don't remember exactly how much. 2 weeks later, dreamy New Yorker flies to Edinburgh to live with Choosing Beggar. Choosing Beggar asks if he could be added to the guest list to come with her son and her. We of course said yes, and let the wedding planner know and paid for the extra meal. Now, week of the wedding arrives. She sends a photo of Dreamy in his new suit for the wedding. A Viking-looking mofo in a baby blue suit like Dumb and Dumber if you know the movie. But hey, it's all good. We say can't wait to meet him in person, etc. 2 days before the wedding, Choosing Beggar phones and says Dreamy has looked into hiring a car to come to the wedding, but he can't afford it, so we'll need to give them a lift there and back. I said to wife-to-be that I had plans for us after the wedding, that we could take them down, then drop them at the train station the day everyone's going home. I sent her a screenshot of the train cost. It was £24 for the 3 of them to get home. She calls back 20 minutes later saying she can't pay this and we should pay it since we can't bring them back after all. I refused. She'd gotten to the end of my tether in helping her, and she now had this man from New York who surely didn't come here with no money and no job. He's an artist. She now refuses to come to the wedding, saying it's unfair that we're paying for everyone to get their hair done, but she doesn't need hers done because she has dreadlocks, so we're being unfair to her. And that lovely bridesmaid is doing the makeup, so don't be cheap. My wife hangs up, crying her eyes out, but she also refuses to pay for it, having growing increasingly sick of being used by Choosing Beggar with the hen do, shopping, all the wedding expenses, for her to be so ungrateful. So I WhatsApped the maid of honor saying wife to be is upset that we can't afford to pay for the train, unfortunately. She messaged back saying, it's only 24 pounds. You have money. You have your own business. I replied a little irate, saying, we've paid for everything else for you. I'm sorry, but it's only 24 pounds. I'm sure Dreamy can afford it too. He didn't come 5,000 miles with no money, surely. She then calls me screaming down the phone. F you, how dare you ask him to pay to be part of your wedding? He spent money on a suit. It's not his job to pay for it. I asked why it's my job to pay for it then. And she just screams, F you, you're an effing fat prick, and I wouldn't come now even if you pay for it. Go F yourself, and the wifey can go F herself too. And hangs up. So I was in the wrong for expecting this guy who wasn't even invited, and I've never met, to pay for himself and his new family to get home from the wedding, when we've paid for literally every other penny associated and more? Once wifey stops crying, she phones lovely bridesmaid and asks if she'll be the maid of honor and explains the situation. Lovely bridesmaid says it would be amazing, but also if she does still want Choosing Beggar to be maid of honor, they would hire a bigger car to take them all home since they have a very small hatchback. She said no, she's no longer welcome. We'd like you to be the maid of honor instead. It should have always been you since the hen do. Side note, lovely bridesmaid's fiance came to my stag do in Prague, having only met me a handful of times, and we became great friends, and I promised him I'd try to get lovely bridesmaid turned into the maid of honor as she deserved it. So he knew we really wanted this and just didn't have the heart to ask Choosing Beggar to step down. In just 24 hours, she managed to create a bridal box for my wife, with lots of little distress items like sleep spray, calming tea, nice chocolates, etc. for the night before the wedding, and stayed in her bridal suite watching movies and talking. Wedding day comes, and she gets up and gives a heartfelt, emotional, and funny as hell speech she managed to write after being asked, although stole my cheesy joke about even the cakes in tears. The wedding goes fantastically. Wedding planner, the day before the wedding, rearranged the tables to remove the extra places and had our custom seating plan reprinted with lovely bridesmaid at the top table with us. No one misses Choosing Beggar at all. Choosing Beggar groom pushes me too far, and I threaten to delete his wedding photos. I run a company where we hire out wedding and event service providers, with our main focus being photography and videography. Other services include DJs, drone pilots, hair and makeup artists, etc. Not relevant at all. So a few months back, I get an instant chat from a bride via our website. She informs me that they are coming down to South Africa in December, and they need a wedding photographer and videographer. I send our packages to her, and she says her fiance wants to call me. I say that's fine and give her my number. A few hours pass, and I'd almost forgotten about them, but my phone finally rings. The fiancé, speaking in a very heavy German accent, starts sweet-talking me, mentioning how people rave about our fantastic work and service. I'm calling BS on every word he says, but I'm also infamous for my ability to say no. He ends up offering us about a third of what the packages charge, offering to make the hours less, removing any physical copies, etc. He also adds that he'll give us a 500 rupee tip on the nights. I ask him why I can't just add that as part of the quote, to which he just replies, gentleman's agreement. Anyways, somehow I accept his insane offer. If I was a drinker, I'd say that I really should stop drinking at work. I had emphasized that they will get no overtime. If my people stay 1 minute longer than agreed upon, I'm gonna charge. And he said this was fine. So what they required us for was 2 hours for the Friday and 3 hours for the Saturday. Nothing too hectic, hence why I agreed. But it did require me redoing the entire shift list for that weekend as to free 2 qualified people up to go cover their event. The Friday event, I did the photos myself and took one of my videographers with me. And I will add, they were insanely nice, especially the groom. The time did drag a bit because there really wasn't much to shoot, just a group of people sitting around a table, but whatever. After an hour and a half, the groom told us we could leave. Awesome. I wasn't able to do the second evening myself. I had made them aware of this from the start, but sent a different photographer, one much more talented than me if I'm being honest, and the same videographer from the night before. They were booked from 18:15 to 21:15, and I told them to stay until 21:45 to make up for the 30 minutes we had skipped the night before. So how we work is that none of my people own their own gear and everything belongs to me. Therefore, after each shift, the shooters had to return the gear to me. The wedding they were shooting was about a 25-minute drive from my place, and the one I was shooting was an hour drive. I was also booking until 2200. I got home after 2300 and saw that they hadn't returned yet. All of my other teams started arriving shortly after me and returned their gear, but no sign of those two. This had me worried, as they were working the closest and were supposed to finish before anyone else. I tried calling, but no answer from either of them. Just before midnight, I got in my car and went out to look for them. I had driven for about 10 minutes when I saw them passing me from the opposite direction. I turned my car around and drove home. I asked them what had happened. They explained that they had stayed until 21:45 as ordered, but as they were about to start packing up, the bride had sent the maid of honor to request another hour. They had explicitly said that they will talk to me about it afterwards, and I'll just add it to their invoice. They were also making my videographer do things that were only reserved for our biggest package. More importantly though, apparently the couple had gone full entitled people at the second event, yelling at my photographer and just being completely rude. I have a very low tolerance for rude people. The next afternoon, Sunday, I see I have a missed call from the groom and then a voice note, thanking me for my team, and then adding that they'll be leaving the country in 7 days. So they will appreciate it if I could have their wedding photos and videos done before then. And they also want all their raw materials on a hard drive. He made no mention of the overtime. I stared at this message, kinda dumbstruck, as our contract clearly stipulates that the waiting period for photos is 4 weeks and 8 weeks for video. His quotation also clearly said no physical copies. I texted him back the next morning, saying that there was no way I was going to have everything done before January. I did offer to give them the raws before they leave, but hard drive would have to be added to the invoice, along with the overtime bill. To this, he replied that he would like to call me to discuss our situation. I knew exactly what was coming, and I was dreading that phone call. The phone call happened later that afternoon. This story has already gone on way too long, so I'm going to skip most of it and just cut to the parts that made my blood boil. Groom: so you say you cannot have it done before we leave? Unfortunately not. Oh, that disappoints me, because all our guests are asking how much longer the photos are going to take, but we understand. Great, I'm glad you understand. I can give the raws to you if you wish, but you'll have to pay for an external. I have some in stock. I don't want to pay for a hard drive. You can just WeTransfer me all the raws? No, I can't. Oh, why? Because it's over 100 gigs of material, and this is South Africa. With our internet speed, it'll take about 2 years. Oh, do you think we need the raw materials? No, I don't. Okay. Long, awkward pause. Groom: I don't understand why there's an overtime bill. Because you asked my people to stay an extra hour. No, they only stayed 10 minutes longer, and you owed us 30 minutes from the night before. I took the 30 minutes into account, and they still stayed an hour after that. No, That's not true. I have the timestamps on the photos from when the first and last ones were taken. You want me to send that to you? No, I don't. Awesome. But we hired you and got someone else. You hired the company, not me. And on Friday, you even said that I must enjoy my wedding on Saturday. You always knew you weren't getting me. But we weren't happy with who you sent. Really? Why is that? I just don't think we should be charged extra for them. Unfortunately, that's what we agreed upon. But you offer me a better price on the overtime? I am offering you a better price on the overtime. Oh, but this is the best you can do? If you take into account the tip we never got, then this is actually almost nothing. What tip? The gentleman's agreement we made? I don't know what you mean. That's the surprise of a century. So, when do we get the photos? In January, but you need to pay the rest of your invoice first, including the overtime. Yes, you send us everything, and then we pay. No, the contract you sign stipulates that you'll receive nothing unless all invoices have been settled. That is our policy. Yes, but then we don't know you ever send photos. I thought you had had so many people tell you how great our service is. Yeah, but I'm not happy with this. You send us everything and we decide if we want to pay. Yeah, that's not happening. But you cannot ask me to trust you like this. You're right. We cannot trust each other. I think the simplest solution is that I refund your deposit, delete your wedding, and we can be done with each other, because I've heard enough. I feel I have offended you. You have not, but you're wasting my time, and I'm done doing favors for you. The only difference between you and our other clients is that they all paid full price. Okay. Great, I'll wait for the money to show up in my account, and then I'll start the editing process. And you cannot offer me a better price on the overtime? Have a good Christmas. And I hung up the phone. The next morning, the bride sent me a text that they just paid the outstanding balance and now want their photos, because January is a long time to wait. January was 8 days away. It's now been 3 days and the money has yet to show in my account. Alright guys, thanks for watching today's r/ChoosingBeggar video. Do me a favor and hit that thumbs up, and leave me a comment about what your favorite story is. And if you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button and bell to be notified of future videos just like this one. And I'll see you guys in the next video.